I
looks
wanted
like
to
in
go
New
back
York
to your
City.
thing about maybe if we want to solve the police problem, we need to solve the race problem first because it jives with a certain kind of talk that I hear on the right, which is look, there is so much crime and violence and really bad, vicious, dangerous behavior. I've been to too many crime scenes. I've seen too many homicides, over 10,000 blacks killed in a year, et cetera, et cetera. There's so much that the people who have to deal with it inevitably, there's going to be excess. That doesn't excuse the excess, but it does help us to account for it. If you don't want incidents like this, get more fathers in black households. Get better behavior out of the miscreants in those communities. Because if you don't, there are inevitably going to be these kinds of encounters, and the driving force here is crime, not policing.
Well, we can have, the nuance, which is not very nuanced, is people want more policing and better policing. And they're not mutually exclusive. And somebody in a high crime neighborhood can dislike cops on a personal level and still say, understand that they're necessary. Um, it's the people who don't live in the communities that seem to forget the fact that people still want policing, even if they're unhappy with the standard of policing being delivered. I mean, really, only a fool thinks that neighborhoods are going to be safer without cops. I mean, it's just, but that's, the Overton window of discussion since really since Ferguson, but since Floyd in particular, has just shifted so far to this idea where people, just say, well, talk about police abolition. My local city council person openly, advocates for that, and people sort of, nod their head, going, "Oh yeah, yeah." No, no. Um, it's a bad idea. Um, but then to sort of make that argument, you have to understand. You have to then also push back on the idea that policing, the purpose of policing is the oppression of the black community or whatever. Um, we
It's
have to get
literacy.
back to those ideals that police. It's a civilian controlled organization, and it's there for the people. It's a public service, flawed. But it's a public service, and that has to be the starting point. Is how can we deliver the services best, doing the least harm, and most effectively and with greatest satisfaction. Uh, but just by being in that radical center category, and it in the academic world, it puts me on the far right of these issues, which I find just so um, it's so negligent because we on the left, I don't include you in that, Glenn, but we on the left have basically abdicated lowercase crime and order to the Trumpian right, and that's not the solution either. So Biden, for all his, Biden has an opportunity here. Biden does not dislike policing or cops. I'm not so certain about his vice president. Um, but there is a role for the federal government. Policing is local, but the federal government, it will cost money though. I mean, that's the problem. But there could be national standards. There could be cops hired again, like the 94 crime bill at the federal level to give money to police departments. They could set up a training center at a national level. You'd have to pay for it, so local departments would send their cops there. Um, all we could just have data collection. I mean, isn't it amazing? Maybe to me, data collection has gotten worse because of the shift to neighbors and from UCR, and that's another issue. Um, but we still don't collect. The federal government still can't tell you how many people cops killed. They have to estimate how many people are murdered in this country last year. And presumably it'll get a little better as this new system goes into play, but maybe not. I mean, why are we still having these problems? So that's one those type of things are one of the few things that could happen nationally. Though generally this, police departments, the improvement's going to happen at a local level, and that just makes it hard because we got tens of thousands of departments and most are really small. But that's America.